What's up, familia? Welcome inside the big rig. Hope you guys are doing good. Keep in between the lines. Got your load secure. All right, so a few people have been asking me or have been telling me to go ahead and watch this right here, Inside the Manosphere on Netflix. First, people had asked me, am I down with the Manosphere? And I'm like, I got no idea what the heck is the Manosphere. And just to answer anybody's question, no, I'm not. I'm not part of any group, community, nothing, right? Clubs, nothing. Um, and people were asking me to go ahead check it out, and you know, interested in what would I think about it, because every now and then I do preach a little bit about, hey, you know what, men need to become men again, and be a king of the castle, and get their role back as leaders, right, in society. So I'm like, all right, look, I put it off. I did see it come across my feed. It wasn't really interesting until people started telling me about it, and I'm like, okay, eventually I'll make my way around it and I'll go ahead and watch it. So I actually sat down and I watched it. So okay, look, first of all, I want to go ahead and say this. I don't know any of those dudes that were in that documentary. None. Okay? To be fair, one guy, I had seen about 2 or 3 of his shorts. That one guy, Myron, I found out what his name was through the documentary. I'm like, oh yeah. I have seen a short or two of his. He goes out to colleges and talks, but just shorts. Everybody else, including the guy who was making the documentary, I got no idea who the heck they are. Never seen them, never heard of them. And even though I watched the documentary, I don't remember their names. But apparently, they're huge influencers. To me, the worst guy was the guy making the documentary, but I'll get to that in a second. All right, so what's my thoughts about it? Look, this was all propaganda. It really was, man. I mean, even though I can agree with some of these guys' ideologies, a lot of it was just all propaganda, dog. There was a big push of an agenda when it came to this. The first guy, I think it was the first guy that they got, was some guy out of UK, but he spoke with like an Australian accent. Some young dude, I think he was like 23, right? Loved to work out, got into a couple of fights, likes to party. And that's really what it just came down to. It just really came down to all these dudes, man, that are just working out, making money, and just getting different high-nos. I didn't really see this leadership quality. Now sure, maybe you could start a business, or in their case they were influencers, as people will say, and that is their business. There was that one guy, again, I don't remember their names, but it was that one guy who was like this red-headed dude with a beard. He had I think he was originally from like Arkansas or something like that. And they're like, hey, you know what? Miami is home base for all these guys live or whatever. And when it came to this guy, he was married and had kids, and he was saying he has an open relationship, but it's just an open relationship for him, not his wife, right? And just looking at it, and he said that I think he does steel beams and building commercial buildings. I think, I'm not even really sure, but the whole thing to me was just basically, it's just, hey, you know what? It's not really telling men to be men. It's just telling men, hey, be successful, making money, and sleep around. Basically, that's kind of what I got from it, right? And whipping yourself into shape. Which, look, I'm all about working out. Hey, man, get yourself in shape, get yourself healthy, get yourself going, all that great stuff, all right? However, I have said before, careful with a lot of the guys that eat, sleep, breathe, eat the gym. You know what I mean? Like, all they do is just gym. A lot of those guys, not all, but a lot of those guys, man, and girls, have open wounds that they haven't dealt with yet. And they use the gym as a distraction, and because they're getting whipped up in some great shape, right? It's like, look at me, look how great I'm doing. Well, yeah, but they still have not dealt with the issues that they have here and here. Okay, not all, but there are a good handful of people. You know, just like some people use alcohol or drugs or sleeping around, tattoos, facial piercings. Some people use the gym as a distraction of all of that. You know, when I saw these dudes, especially the first guy, and by the way, the first guy, I think it's the last guy they showed as well, but that time they followed him to his mom's house. He was living with his mom because he was wanted somewhere, I forgot what country, and he had shaved his head. And I'm like, okay, this dude is completely out of it, Holmes. This Vato is completely out of it. All the other dudes, I mean, like I said, even though I can agree with some of what they were saying, the whole propaganda behind this, to me, the whole agenda being pushed to this, to me, was the worst thing. That's why I'm saying the worst guy in all of this for me was the guy making the documentary. That four-eyed geek dude. Yes, I wear glasses myself. That four-eyed pencil neck geek dude, man. Because he could have gone ahead. There's other people out there. There's other men out there that do a great job in mentorship and in being life coaches. And he could have went ahead and mixed it up. And he chose not to. Now, again, look, I don't know who any of those dudes are, but apparently they're very, very popular. So maybe he just went after the most popular. I got no idea. He could have got a couple of other life coaches that do a great job. Like those dudes told me, I don't know who they are. I never watched those guys. But there's a couple of other guys that are out there doing a great job. Where I'm like, you know what, man, I like what that Vato's doing right there. And this guy, whoever did this documentary, that geeky looking dude, he didn't go get. That's what I'm saying. It was all the propaganda. He did not go and mix it up. He did not go seeking any of those guys out and say, okay, look, let me show you these guys over here, and let me sprinkle in a couple of these guys over here, right? Now you guys go ahead and make your decision. And at the very end, he's all like, man, the manosphere, how do we get out of it? Like, man, Hans, the documentary, dog, and then and then a lot of these dudes, dog, with the Jews, you know what I mean? But anyway, for me, look, I guess it was kind of a funny documentary. I know it's not meant to be a comedy, but it was just, it was a little entertaining, I guess, just to show some of the ridiculousness that's out there. Like I said, there are certain things in there that I agree with some of those guys on, okay? But ultimately, I'm like, nah, homie, no, you know. So this thing about like, hey, just be successful, make money, and get in shape, and be with all these hyenas and stuff, dog. Like, you know, being successful can mean a lot of things. Usually, people just talk about money when it comes to that. And as we all know, look, money doesn't make you a good person. Money does not make you a good person, or being in shape doesn't make you a good person. You know, and that's just kind of what I saw in all of this. And I'm just looking at it, like watching, like, damn, man, this dude is really pushing. You know, it really bothered me that this guy was doing that, because it's really, it seems to me that he's trying to push for weak men. This is why he went ahead and had this agenda to say, like, hey, you know what? Look at this. Look at this is the big issue right here. Like I said, he could have gone and sprinkled in a couple of other life coaches that really do a good job, that focus on you spiritually and mentally. Yes, as well as physically getting in shape and mentoring you and how to be a leader and standing up tall and speaking right, as opposed to these guys that he chose. He could have mixed it up. I'm not saying leave those guys out of it, but he could have mixed it up. But he didn't do that because there was an agenda. He wants to go ahead and keep men weak. That's how I received it. Because it's either this over here, which is what he was documenting, or that down there. He could have easily went and got some good life coaches and said, like, okay, there's this over here, that down there, and then there's a couple of these guys right here in the middle. And he didn't do that. So, anyway, my thought about the documentary, like I said, even though there's a few things on there that I can agree with some of these characters, I don't know who these fools are. I don't know who follows them. Apparently, it's a bunch of young dudes. But there's a lot of other great life coaches out there, homie. A lot more great life coaches out there to be following these dudes, Holmes. You know what I mean? That one guy, I think he was from Arkansas or Alabama, was over there, you know, smashing other high-ass dog while he's married and he's got kids and nah, dog, you know. But anyway, that was my thoughts. Yeah, I mean, it was entertaining. It was entertaining. If I never watched it, I'm not missing a masterpiece. But to me, there was definitely an agenda. That's why the guy that did the documentary himself, I don't know his name, I forgot his name, but he's the worst one to me out of all them guys. But anyway, that was my thoughts on it. As always, familia, live your life like you're on the road. Be aware of surroundings. Always keep a safe distance. Blood, make sure you live below it to make family. Until next time, this is Ed the Troll Trucker. Over and out.